They had some bomber jackets, like the slick-looking ones.
I do love a bomber.
He really wants...
Jacket,
yeah.
Oh, no. Welcome to the Holy Mess Podcast. I'm Joy.
And I'm Bekah.
If you think you're a mess, you are not alone. We talk about the things of life through a lens of faith, and we find the hope in all of it.
P.S. If you want more than just this podcast, you can listen every weekday afternoon as Joy and I now do a show together on Way FM starting at 2 p.m. Central Time. On today's episode, we're going to talk about the most creative resume sending ever, how to be more in the present moment, and how my husband almost bankrupted us. But first, Joy's messy moment of the week.
I don't know if you remember me talking about this, Bekah, but I went to a super fancy gala.
Yes.
The dresses.
Okay, because you got to go. I've always wanted to go to this place. It's in the city we live in where you get to rent like these gorgeous gowns and you got to try multiple on.
It would have been a dream to go and try them on, except that I'm pregnant and massive. Oh. And almost none of the dresses in the entire store are for like pregnant people.
No.
I mean, they're gowns. And so part of the reason I did rent a dress is because I have a couple of like prom dresses still in my closet, but none of them fit me right now. And I wasn't about to buy a dress that only fits me pregnant.
Yeah.
So I was excited. I did rent one that made me feel very beautiful. I could not really walk in it because, as you can imagine, I'm a petite woman, and it was about a foot and a half too long.
Do they not? I guess they wouldn't be able to alter it because they have to rent it out to other people.
I think you can pay to alter it to a certain extent, but I didn't want to pay more. It was already a lot of money just to rent it. So there was a slit in it. So my husband literally dropped me off on the side of the road so that I could be closer to the entrance.
You waddle your way in.
And I like tried to start walking and just started tripping like on the downtown streets. And all these people were like, "Oh, you look beautiful." And I was like, "Thanks," as I cannot walk. And so I figured out that I had to like pick up either side of the front, almost like Cinderella, and hold the dress.
It seems like a dream.
Well, it is, except I tripped a lot of times, and my shoes kept getting caught in the bottom of the dress.
Well, that's why she lost her shoe.
It all makes sense.
Because the fairy godmother didn't hem her dress.
Oh, snap. I understand her on a deeper level now. It was very uncomfortable, but the reason this is my mess of the week is because I don't belong in fancy places. I want to be Cinderella so badly, and I really wanted to feel beautiful. And so, have you ever done fake eyelashes?
No. I tried it once, and I kept like freaking out because my peripheral vision had like bats in it. But it was just my eyelashes.
Or spiders.
Yes.
Yeah, I love when I have them on because I feel so beautiful, but they're uncomfortable. And there was a season where I got pretty good at putting them on, but it's been years. And so I successfully got them on after several tries. I did the glue and everything at home. I mean, I've seen people do it to me, so I know to like blow on it. I get them on. And the reason, I forgot to say any of this, the reason we even went to this gala is because my husband and I were presenting at it. So we can't even afford a ticket to a gala, please. But my husband and I got invited because it's for a nonprofit organization that we've been on overseas on a missions trip to Asia with. And so I was so nervous. We like kick off the night, we present, we got our lines, we did the whole thing. And then I go to the bathroom, Bekah, and one of my eyelashes is hanging off.
No!
It was done.
Was it like that when you were on stage?
I have no idea. I probably...
Hunter, you have one job.
Girl, they don't notice any of this jazz. And so I panicked, but I am prepared because I knew I didn't put them on well. I have glue in my purse.
Okay.
So I'm afraid to take it all the way off because I'm like, if I don't get it back on, then I have to rip the other one off, and then I have no mascara, and I look weird. So I was like, okay, I'll just put a little bit of glue like on my eyelid or on the thing. Well, that glue does not stay where you put it. It leaks into my eye. It starts burning like crazy.
Why do we do this to ourselves?
Then I blink and my eye is partially glued shut.
Joy!
It hurts so. Even talking about it is bringing back the pain to my eye.
Your eyes are literally watering.
Yes.
And I don't think it's tears. I think it's just like a reflex. Like, please don't put us through that
again.
again.
It burned so badly. And I'm in the bathroom in this gorgeous gown, and all these other women are like washing their hands. And I'm like, ow, ow. with my eyelash. And I don't even know. I couldn't fully get it back on. I like pulled my eye apart and I was like, we're just going to deal. The other one, as the night went on, also started to come free.
My goodness.
It was really bad. But I sat with incredible people, which was actually kind of fun.
That didn't point out that your eyelashes were falling off.
Well, I think they noticed, but they were gracious about it because I sat by a girl who listens to Way FM and like knows that I'm a disaster. And I'm like, oh, great. And she was totally normal and wonderful. But something else happened. Well, two other things happened that were embarrassing. One is that they brought us this beautiful food and I didn't understand what I was eating. And there was just one round potato in the middle of the plate, which I thought was strange. But I love carbs, so I went for it. It was actually a big old onion. I ate an entire onion. Yes.
Why did they present you with an onion?
Well, there were other things around it, but it was like, you know how they give you such tiny things on the plate?
Yes, I was just picturing a plate, and the only thing was this onion in the center. I'm like, I do not get rich people.
No, there were little vegetables around it, but I could not swallow one whole onion. But I also didn't want to like spit it into my cloth napkin. So I asked my new friend, I was like, I need a napkin to spit something in. And those tiny cute napkins people put under their fancy drinks? She gathered them from the table for me so I could spit it
out
into
your
that
onion that you bit into.
I just didn't know. And then the final thing is, have you ever been to a live auction?
Yes.
Isn't it exciting?
It is, but you can't Twitch because then you'll accidentally buy something.
Exactly. I didn't know.
What did you buy?
Well, I didn't successfully buy it, but I was excited because this is for a nonprofit that I love, and everything was so expensive. People were bidding like $10,000 for things. And so no one at my table is bidding. And there was a little card you had to hold up. But as it's happening, something got so much higher than we thought it would. I think it was up to like $17,000. And they didn't think anybody would go that high. And really, it's not worth that. But people if they're going to give to charity. So when it got that high, genuinely, I got so excited that I went, yeah, okay. And I raised my pointer hand, and the man pointed to me and said 17.5.
No.
And I looked around and there was no one else with their hand up, and everyone at my table was like, what? And my husband goes, no, don't do it. And I go, no, I was applauding. No. And then I crossed my arms. I didn't know you couldn't cheer.
You're not supposed to move. Look, I've only been to one live auction, and I literally like sat with my arms folded and like, because I was so nervous because I'd heard stories that you do the smallest little movement.
I almost spent $17,500 on it was to drive a fancy car in the downtown, and I was like, I can't even drive well. I don't want
just
that.
To drive. I mean, again, it's for charity, and these things are usually donated, so that's great. But
we were all eating dinner while it happened, so it was very casual. And I'm so nervous, Bekah. I will never go back to an auction. The man was like, they really do that.
Yeah,
it's
they're
overwhelming.
so talented.
Okay,
Two things. First of all, when you were describing the onion, it reminded me of the scene in Princess Diaries when she like bites into the sorbet and it's exactly. So she just doesn't have the right etiquette, and everyone around her is trying to make her look normal and more comfortable.
They're all doing it. They're like, ugh.
That's what I'm picturing. Everyone takes a bite of their onion, like, okay, this is what we're doing now.
Yes, everyone chew the onion at once. We'll all spit it out. They were so kind to me at my table.
Secondly, once you pop out this baby, we're going to go back to fancy dress place. We're going to rent some gowns, and we're just going to go to Outback, and we're going to get a bloomin' onion, the kind of onion you actually can eat, and we're going to have a party.
Dip it in that sauce. Yeah. Oh, my word. I hear that that's the most calorie-rich appetizer in the world. I'm not freaked out by it.
We're not going to talk about it because it's our fancy night.
But I may need to buy a dress one size up.
That's
so
fine.
I can eat all that I want. It's delicious.
That's the point. My messy moment is something that started out seemingly innocent enough and something that I thought would be fun. I was kind of in a funk. It was Saturday. I don't know. Do you just have those days where you're like, I don't know what's wrong. I don't feel like doing anything. I need to force myself out of the house. Mm-hmm. So what do you do on a Saturday when you don't really want to spend a ton of money, that you don't really have an event? So I suggested, would you mind, to my husband, would you want to go to like TJ Maxx with me? He's like, sure.
And just wander.
And just wander. Because sometimes that's fun. And you can find like a really good deal. And then you're spending like a little bit of money, but it's not this giant thing. So we get into the store, and we always do our thing where we split up. And usually he's in the men's section for 5 minutes and comes back and like follows me around like a lost puppy dog. This time, I had done all my shopping. I'd found a cardigan I really liked. It was really cute. I'd tried on a few other things, and I still had not seen my husband.
It's weird. There's not much guy stuff in that store.
Well, I go to look for him, and he has both arms full.
Of what?
Full of jackets. He's really into they had some bomber jackets, like the slick looking ones.
I do love a bomber.
He really wants
a jacket.
Jacket, yeah.
Oh no. That did not come out right.
A bomber jacket. He had found some old man sweaters. He had, I want to say
Are those in style, like Mr. Rogers?
He wanted one.
Okay.
He had like 4 or 5 hoodies that, to be honest, all looked the same. I don't know why he had that many hoodies. And then here's the thing that I didn't explain to him about TJ Maxx is, yes, most things are a deep discount, but some items there are designer.
And they're so expensive.
They're so expensive to begin with that then the discount is still so expensive. So we're going through all the clothes that he has.
He didn't check the price tag?
He didn't check the price tag.
That's the most man thing I've ever heard in my life. I look at the price tag before I even touch the garment. So is that $400 or is it $400?
He was so excited about all the stuff that he had, and it came to like $480 something, everything in his arms. I'm like, Joey, no, this is not okay. So he only ended up getting one thing, and it was a more expensive product. It was Karl Lagerfeld jacket, which he had never heard of. Karl. He didn't know that was a designer.
I don't know Karl either.
I know that it's a designer. That's all I know, and it's more expensive. So he did get his bomber jacket. He got one expensive item, but my little outing to go clear my head and help my mental health. And he spends all this money. It was also the TJ Maxx with home goods. And so he bought, he loves spatulas. So he bought all these spatulas.
That's so random.
I know.
Who loves spatulas?
Joey.
Okay, I want to know something because I'm wondering if this is a guy-girl thing or if it's more individualized than that. My husband also likes to buy. I mean, he had all these items and he just chose one really nice thing and the bomber jacket. I would rather get 10 cheap things than the one nice thing. But my husband, his clothes last longer. He has less of them, but he wants really nice stuff, and he just wants to buy one really nice shirt and wear it till Jesus returns. Is that a man thing?
I don't think it is. I think our husbands are the same personality type on the Enneagram.
Oh, yes.
And the Enneagram 3, which Hunter and Joey both are, is very much about like performance, and some of that can be vanity, and neither of our husbands are vain, but I do think that they appreciate having that nice thing,
looking nice. And Bekah and I are like, man, I'd rather take 10 shirts that are gross.
There's one cardigan that I was like, this has a hole in it. Oh well, it's $9.
I said to my husband recently at like a second-hand sale for baby clothes, I was like, this one isn't on sale. And he goes, it's $2. And I said, I know, but I just
it could be $150.
I like to get it half off. Mm-hmm. And he was like, just get it.
On to our mental health moment.
This comes from my most recent counseling session. I'm so glad I got a chance to go back. There are moments, if you've never done therapy, when your counselor will say something and it seems so foreign that you're positive it's wrong. And she wrote on this whiteboard, I can live in the present moment and not have to anticipate future crisis. And I just stared at each word and I just went,
Doesn't feel right.
No, I don't. It does not compute. I don't know how you don't anticipate future crisis. In fact, I said to her, that feels flippant and irresponsible.
Oh, wow. You pushing back on your counselor.
Well, I think it's best to just be honest in those moments because then she's going to tell me how I'm wrong. Of course, that's what I pay her for. Yeah. And she explained there is a very fine line between being a good steward of the time we have, the information that we have, and preparing for the future. God gives us the ability to do that. But most of us, we can look at anxiety rates and depression rates. Most of us are so concerned about the future that it messes up the present right now. We don't properly prepare without fear and concern and worry because that's kind of how we're wired and we have no control over the future. And so if you tend towards anxiety or concern or worry for the future like I do, we don't actually need to worry about making sure we're prepared for the future. We will do that naturally. We need to be more concerned about living in the present moment and stopping that mindset that goes, well, what if this happens? And I need to prepare for that. And just in case that goes wrong, I need to process how we'll handle that because life is going to happen no matter what. And do you have any tips, Becca, on how you try to be present? Because I know that's like been a struggle for both of us.
Oh, well, I was just literally thinking what first came to mind was our whole 401k debacle right now at work. We're rolling over to a different fund, and it's going to be great once it's done, but the process has not been user-friendly.
It's sucking the life out of me.
Joy's been having nightmares about it.
Legitimately, I emailed our HR team, and I was like, another nightmare. Someone help me. They were like, seriously? I'm like, yeah.
And then today, I came into work, and I heard people that are a lot smarter than we are also freaking out about it. So I'm like, oh, great. This is a challenge. And I think in that circumstance, I know that there are things that I need to proactively do. I need to call the phone number. I need to go through it. But I don't need to be worrying about it during this podcast. Mm-hmm. I literally am sitting here like, ooh, should I pull up my account that has like my information? I was like, no. I am here
right
with
now.
My friend. Yes, it's in the back of my mind. I mean, I've checked my email and podcast before.
Yes.
So you ask me if I have any tips. No.
She don't.
I am just trying to take it 1 second at a time, and now we're doing a podcast, and that's all I should be focusing on.
The next thing that my counselor wrote on the board was the Bible verse that says, be anxious for nothing, because when I said this just doesn't seem like appropriate to not be concerned about the future, she reminded me how often in the Bible, God says, do not fear, because he knows we will. Yeah. So the reason he says that is because God knows that when we are present, the way he designed us to be in this moment, like as we feel the breath in our lungs and the texture of our clothes, and you look around wherever you are as you're listening to this, God has given us this moment. We cannot go back to 2 minutes ago, and we cannot go forward 2 minutes. Like, this is a gift, and there is so much peace and joy that we miss out on when we don't live in the moment we're in right now. In fact, when our brain is anywhere else, like, we're missing out on the gift of this. And so she really talked about the trust it takes in our relationship with God to not worry about the future. It's saying, God, you're already in the future. Yeah. And when whatever I'm concerned about gets here, you will equip me for it and you will walk me through it. And that's hard for me to, I think, believe sometimes, because I want to make sure it's as easy as possible.
And I think what we often do is we do our job and God's job, or we try to. We do like for the 401k example. It's stuff that we need to step through, but then we're like, oh, but we're going to also take on this emotional burden that is not ours to carry. And it's like, no, we have things that we can do, and anything beyond what we can actively contribute to isn't our concern.
Yes.
And that is really, really hard to put into practice.
Yeah, it's hard to stop that line. And the last thing I'll say about this is that I recently heard Brene Brown talking about a man she interviewed who said he realized one of the most dangerous human emotions is joy. And I didn't understand that at all, but this ties into being present in this moment. He said that he really downplayed anytime he felt too excited or too joyful in his life. He was older, because when we feel too much joy, I think we automatically have this thought of like, but what if something bad happens? Like, that must mean something bad is looming, which, Becca, that's got to be your whole life.
My entire life. I literally just did a post about this because Joey has been hospital free since February.
Wow.
Besides a couple ER visits, but that's a really big deal for him. But I have had the hardest time celebrating it, or even inviting other people in to celebrate it. And people have been praying for him so hard. And I should let them know, hey, there's been some answer to prayers. There's a lot of other difficulties. He still struggles a lot with many things. And in fact, the day that I did the update, the day before, he'd had 105-degree fever. But I realized, but if I can't see God's goodness, if I can't see how prayers are being answered, if I can't see what I do have, I'm going to miss out on any goodness. And I desperately need it in my life.
We do, but we're afraid to feel it, because then we're afraid it'll feel worse when the shoe drops for the next thing. And I don't actually think that's true, because Brene Brown went on to talk about how this man later in life was in a car accident and his wife passed away in the car accident. And he said, I tried to minimize too much joy in my life to protect myself from very painful things. And he said, even if I'd felt the joy in some of those moments with my wife, it would not have changed the outcome that I lost her. There's nothing about me minimizing being present with her and enjoying it or fearing the future that changed the future. It doesn't. Those hard things still happen. And he's like, I had to walk through it, but I was able to. Yeah. And I am still here, and I'm taking it one day and one moment at a time. But trying not to be too sad or too happy doesn't actually protect us. And so I just want to encourage you, as I've been processing this, that in this present moment, feel the joy that comes, feel the gratitude that comes, feel the pain that comes, but know that like living in tomorrow and the potential future crisis, it doesn't prevent that from happening, but it does steal from right now. It does steal from this day. And so very profound thing that I'm still trying to figure out. But this is why we talk about mental health and therapy, because it does change the way you live moment to moment.
On to our mess and bless of the week. My mess is a scientific study, so it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to turn into anything. But I hate it already. Basically, they found that instead of putting a calorie count on the label, instead if they printed the amount of exercise you'd need to burn off that item, you're more likely to make healthier choices.
Can you give me an example?
So a can of Pepsi, it might say you need to walk for 30 minutes if you drink this.
Oh, snap.
The reason this bothers me, that this is even a thought in the universe, is I remember as a kid, someone making some offhanded comment that eating one M&M means you have to run the length of a football field to burn it off.
Nuh-uh.
And I actually Googled this, and it's true. That was the last time I really intentionally ate M&Ms. And I loved M&Ms. But here's the thing.
That ruined M&Ms.
It did, but that's so silly. We have such an unhealthy view of food, and I'm not saying like, oh, we're so gluttonous and we eat too much. We have an unhealthy view of calories sometimes. An M&M is 3 calories. And
oh, man.
if that gives you joy, and if that is something at the end of a day and you've had your balanced meals, like there should be no shame attached to it.
Ooh, that's good.
I think that this is what bothers me, is that by printing the exercise, you are attaching shame and punishment to food. Food is not inherently bad.
And you don't have to burn all of it off. We need it to live.
Exactly. Like your body actually needs to function. And when you start getting too concerned about that, that's when you go into this deficit of not having enough energy and not feeling good.
Yeah, because if I went to pick something up that I was excited to enjoy, and I was going to look at the calories or whatever anyways, and I saw how much exercise it would take, I would also go into a shame spiral about how I don't exercise at all right now, and this is a crazy time, and I should be exercising, and I should do something, and if I eat this, I should do that, but I'm not going to do that. And maybe it would make me not eat it. Maybe I would still eat it. And then you feel so much worse about yourself.
I think I'm just in this journey of trying to see food and body image differently. And I've talked about it before. I'm a work in progress. But I don't want to ever see food as inherently bad. It fuels my body. I feel like God has given us flavor in certain things, and they're delicious. And if that's how we celebrate, that's great. And I'm just trying to rewire my brain. So whenever I read stuff like this, I'm like, nope, too far, don't like it.
Wow, that's good, though. That's a good perspective on that. My mess this week is, if you've not heard, Walmart is going to start carrying wedding dresses. This is my mess because they're going to start at $89.
That's amazing.
I can already tell they're going to be a disaster.
Why do you say that?
The picture they have up is beautiful. This woman is clearly in Italy or somewhere posing in the dress. There's like a Photoshop fail in the picture. On the skirt of the dress, there's like some leaves. You can tell that should be somewhere else. There's shading went wrong.
Oh, no.
And this feels like, when they advertise like Shein clothing to you online and it's beautiful, but it's $7.99 and you're thinking,
there's no way.
That sparkly dress is not $7.99. And then people post pictures of what actually comes. I feel like that's what's going to happen with this Walmart stuff. And I just don't think dresses are the kind of thing that you go cheap on.
I am hoping that they deliver on this because wedding dresses should be way less expensive.
Absolutely.
Or at least less expensive options for brides on a budget. So I am holding out hope. Joy and I have actually had some debates on this on the air recently because we do a show now together. I'm all on Team Walmart. I'm going to hold out and hope that this actually turns out well. But Joy's been out from day one.
Well, when we first talked about it, I said, Bekah, who would buy an $89 dress. And she was like, me? And I said, oh, if I could get remarried, I would spend more on my dress.
That's insane to me. I would elope and wear like just a simple under $100 dress.
Well, that is actually smarter than what I'm saying. I just really love sparkle tulle and I want more of it.
My bless is all about Blue's Clues. There's a movie coming out on Paramount Plus next month, and they confirmed that it's going to have all 3 show hosts in it. And I think we were maybe a little bit too old for Blue's Clues.
Yeah, my brother loved it.
Yes. So I always kind of experienced it through younger cousins, younger people I knew. But it still was a sweet part of my childhood, even if it wasn't aimed at my age demographic at the time.
Because Steve was still a beloved part of children's lives.
And then he went off to college and just randomly disappeared, and that was weird. And so I love that they're bringing back all 3 hosts, Steve, Joe, and Josh, in case you were wondering.
Joe
is the middle one. He's Steve's brother. I don't know.
I do not recall a Joe, and even the current Josh, sorry, not a fan.
Really?
I tried to show it to my son. I'm not into it. I don't believe him.
Steve is Steve and only Steve. But speaking of Steve, it reminds me last year for the 25th anniversary of Blue's Clues, he did a little message for people who used to watch it. And
I remember this.
Even rewatching it now and pulling this audio has me in my feels.
We started out with clues, and now it's what? Student loans and jobs and families. And some of it has been kind of hard. You know? I know you know. And I wanted to tell you that I really couldn't have done all of that without your help.
It's just so sweet. And he even added a little tag at the end as well.
I guess I just wanted to say that after all these years, I never forgot you. Ever.
I feel seen.
Right. There's something weird that just my heart melts. And so it's my bless because I love that they got them all back together. I love that he still wants to encourage people all these years later. He's like, I took care of you as kids. I'm going to take care of you as adults.
You can't pay your student loans. He's like, me either. I really need a gig. So I'm going to make this movie. My bless this week is that a woman who's been really looking for a job decided to get creative. She wants a job at Nike in Portland, Oregon. So she put her resume on a cake and had it sent to them. But it's 10 times more complicated than even just delivering a cake because she lives in North Carolina.
Oh,
so she had to do it through Instacart. So she's calling up the store, making sure that they print it properly. She's in communication with her Instacart woman. And the best part is the girl who was doing her Instacart is apparently killer at that job and is known really well. And now because this has gone viral, people are talking about how great she's been to them as well. I think her name was Denise, and she was doing her Instacart deliveries with a baby on her hip. And
my goodness.
Because she's a killer working mom. And so she arrived at Nike with the cake, and they were like, okay, you can just leave it here. And she said, no, I'm sorry. I have to deliver this to a certain person.
Wow.
Because that was what the woman had asked her to do. So she waited down in the foyer until they kind of called security and they were like, what's going on? And finally they realized this woman really was just trying hard to get a job and get creative, which Nike encourages. So she waited until the hiring manager came down and took the cake, and she took a picture of him in the cake and sent it to the girl in North Carolina.
That is next. Whenever I put something in the comments, I'm like, could I just have some extra sauce, please? And they don't give me any sauce.
We're like, oh, thank you for not biting into my sandwich. That's typically what I say. But that woman, Denise, her story is really cool too because they've kind of started to become friends because this has gone viral. And Denise told the woman who created this cake idea, she said, you've inspired me to go and chase after something better because I've been wanting to find a job, but I didn't quite know where to start. So that's why I'm doing Instacart. And the fact that this girl went above and beyond is inspiring. But the sad part of the story is Nike has not hired her yet.
Nike!
I don't know if it's because she's in North Carolina, but they have not done it, and I'm just really frustrated.
This statement I'm about to make is not legally binding. But if we were hiring for a position and they sent a cake, I'd be like, immediate yes. Immediate yes.
If their face is on it, win.
Wait, what?
Instead of the resume, put your face on the cake so we know you when we meet you, and we're like, you're the one.
That's weird. That's just,
what?
That just got weird.
You're not going to eat it still?
No.
My face was on my graduation cake, and I loved it.
Because it was your graduation. If if they had a cake of our faces, I'd be like, maybe.
Okay, that's just... I draw the line at eating our own faces.
Okay.
Thank you so much for listening. If you got something out of this episode, we would love if you would share it with a friend. To be notified every time there's a new episode, simply text the word MESS, MESS, to 91979. And if you have anything you want to share with us, we'd love to hear from you. Email us at holymess@wayfm.com. Thanks for being a part of our messy family.